So our guest speaker is Michel Falcon. Michel is an entrepreneur, advisor, and international keynote speaker who leverages customer experience, employee engagement, and culture strategy to grow businesses. He's advised executives from brands like Blue Cross Blue Shield, Verizon Wireless, Lexus, Toyota, Kroger, and more. His hospitality company in downtown Toronto has a portfolio of 4 venues amounting to over 20 million in yearly revenue with 150 employees. Their focus on culture allowed the organization to achieve this growth in a 2-year period. Michel is also the founder of the People First Culture philosophy, which is defined as an honest commitment from leaders to put their employees and customers at the core of their decision making. His book, People First Culture, Build a Lasting Company by Shifting Your Focus from Profits to People, made its debut this fall. Michel will be helping you to rethink and reshape your company culture today, and we're excited to have him here with us. So please help me welcome Michel.
Thanks, guys. I'll open by reading the first paragraph of the book. Culture is like a baby. You have to watch it 24/7. It needs to be fed at least 3 times a day. And when it makes a mess, you have to clean it up and change it. I met many of you yesterday, and I'm very, very happy that I was able to attend and hear what challenges you guys were working on. Mitch, if you're wondering where your document went, I accidentally wrote on it. Where is it? Right, there you are. Sorry. And I didn't realize that until I got back into the room.
Rachel, I didn't skip the scorecard purpose.
Raise your hand if you feel like you already have a strong culture and you are in refinement mode. Raise your hand. Great. Who feels that they are in their infancy of developing their culture? Raise your hand. Great. Regardless of the position that you are in, there are some commonalities that you guys can share, and having an intimate group like this allows you for that peer cross-learning. I'm going to share how we've gone from 0 to what Cameron has outlined, and going into this industry of hospitality, which is known for many things, one of which is high employee turnover, lack of culture, and an industry that is really transient. Who was the gentleman that mentioned that they were in construction and had a hard time recruiting, right? Different industries, but we all are operating within different industries for the most part. But at the end of the day, what we have to manage is human behavior. Regardless of the size of your company, how much revenue you do, what industry you're in, you're just managing human behavior. And that is the commonality that we can share, whether we're in hospitality or not. I knew going into this industry, and I have exactly 0 experience in hospitality before going into this. As a matter of fact, my father operated a restaurant, and he operated the same way that I've operated mine. And I didn't learn anything from him. I had no desire in getting in hospitality. He actually had to file for bankruptcy because he lost his restaurant. He got screwed over by something really badly. Part of the reason why I was attracted to this industry was because I was like, could I make a difference in this industry? And perhaps you have that same motivation. Maybe your industry isn't aligned with company culture. What a fantastic opportunity you have ahead of you to be able to do something different and build your own legacy for yourself and the organization. I'm going to introduce you to the People First Culture and the 3P strategy. The 3P strategy is the mechanics behind what has helped us build this thriving culture and what's going to allow us to refine it for years to come so that we're relevant for decades. I'm going to introduce you to the interview process. It is ironclad. It's a 6-step process regardless of your industry. I believe it's going to help you contribute to your culture, make sure you don't allow culture fits into the business, and achieve high employee retention, productivity, and all that good stuff. I'm going to introduce you to something called micro customer experiences as well too. When I spent my time at 1-800-GOTCHA, I left with an intimate understanding that company culture isn't just one thing. For us, in our organization, there are two micro segments within the culture, and that is customer experience. That is an outcome of having an amazing culture, and high employee engagement. The outcomes of that are productivity, great salespeople, great marketers, and all that good stuff. I believe in building frameworks for absolutely everything and codifying things. Cameron mentioned something to me about a year ago, being like, you have to get your stuff out of your head and codify it. So I did. And it's this, it's the people first culture. The best way for me to describe it is building a company that customers and employees will admire. Now what you're seeing here is something that I believe every company wants to achieve. You want to recruit a high-performing team to build this great culture, which will lead to high employee engagement. If you have high employee engagement, people don't. Absenteeism is manageable, right? In an industry like construction, people might not show up to work. Same with my industry, right? Hostesses calling in sick, right? Going into building our company, I took a look at a lot of data around absenteeism in this industry, and I was like, these people shouldn't be in work. They should be in a hospital for how many times they're calling in sick. But this is complete BS. We got to get ahead of this. Then the company wants a great experience for customers. So every organization wants a great team who are engaged that will serve customers. But why is it that some companies will succeed and, to be honest, most fall short? Building that framework, and it took me about 6 months to fully be content with it. And I developed something that happened to be called the 3P strategy. Purpose, process, and profit is what hinges everything together. So let's do this again with the 3P strategy. We recruit, we interview, we onboard a high-performing team to build our culture. We understand the purpose of 3 entities within the organization. What is the purpose of our company? What is the purpose of our customers? And what is the purpose of our employees? Once you're intimately able to understand the purpose, engagement is the output. Sustainable engagement. How many people, by show of hands, feel like their employee engagement have peaks and valleys? Right? I would imagine probably everyone. You want to have that engagement maintained. Once you have that engaged team within your culture, now you can start building processes for them to live within. Something I learned earlier in my career is people don't fail, processes do. Let that sink in. People don't fail, processes do. I'm sure you have somebody on your team that you're like, you know what, Billy's just not cutting it. Or Samantha, I don't know about her. Now, whether you part with Billy or Samantha is completely up to you. But before you do, or shortly after you do, ask yourself 2 questions. 1, did our training process fail Billy? Did we set them up for success? Do we have a culture of learning? If you can say, you know what, our training program is so good, we've slaved over it, okay, so be it. The next process you have to question is, how did Samantha get through the interview process? Whether you let go of them because of skill or culture fit, how did they get through that interview process? We're supposed to have safeguards in place to ensure that culture fits don't enter this company. Within our business, we have 20 strategic initiatives and processes within our business. I'm going to take you through 5 today. If you send me an email, and I'll share my email address later, I can send you over this slide deck so you can go through all 20 on your own. But once you're able to build a process, the outcome are experiences that your customers have never seen before. And that is a part of the culture. The output is profit. Now, I don't want you to think of profit just as dollars and cents.
You can profit by having an amazing company culture because you have such high employee retention. You can profit by having an admired brand that attract people to your culture. And I believe you said, what month was recruiting, interviewing, and onboard? Next year?
Recruiting is, April.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to scratch the surface today, and then you guys have an entire 2 days next year to dive really deep into it. Purpose. I said there's 3 things you have to ask yourself. What is the purpose of our company? What is the purpose of our customers? And what is our team's purpose? This was a very polarizing ad. Had people burning their Nike shoes. Now, Nike's purpose isn't just to build great products. It's to stand behind things that they believe in, whether it becomes polarizing or not. The output, or because of that purpose, you have a team of tens of thousands of people that align behind this purpose, and the output are great experiences and great products. Pallet case, what you're looking at here is a biodegradable cell phone case. And Cameron and I know one of the leaders at this organization. His name's Matt Bertulli. And if you were to ask Matt, and he's profiled in the book, why do you do what you do? He won't say it's to develop great products. He'll tell you that the purpose of the company is to serve zero wasters. Zero Wasters is a community of consumers, an emerging community of consumers who will only purchase products that won't harm the earth. This is their first product, and they're growing like crazy, and they will have many, many other products. But this is their purpose, is to build a business that won't harm earth. It's not to build the best products in the marketplace. That's an output of their purpose. My organization is to consistently deliver seamless experiences. That is our purpose. Notice how I didn't say to consistently deliver seamless experiences for customers. It's for everyone that interacts with our brand, whether we pay them or they pay us. Some companies treat their very best customers amazingly, and then their business partners, their suppliers, their vendors, they get treated second class. That's not a great culture. If you're going to have a true, authentic culture that serve people, serve everyone the exact same way. And working with my finance team, when we got audited, I had to remind them of that. I was like, you have to treat the government, the media, our steak supplier, people that we pay, with the exact same level of experience and respect. What is the purpose of your company? If it's only to make money, I feel like that would be a poor business, because you're going to just live year over year. Today, I got our, just a moment ago actually, I got our P&L for last month. And I'm emotionless. The number was great, but I'm emotionless by it. It didn't make me happy. Like, to be honest, I was like, nice, and on with it. Right? Like, I'm not driven by that. Yes, I'm very competitive, but if you are going to operate a business and build a culture where it's just celebrating around your P&L, that's like that loser that has that nice car with no personality, right? They don't get dates very often, and they don't get the second date very often. Don't be that company. If you know what the purpose is of your company, and you're very confident in it, here's an opportunity for you after today. Go back in your place of business next week and ask 3 people from 3 different departments, what's the purpose of our company? If you don't hear the same answer, then you have an opportunity to create greater alignment within the organization around why you are there. What is the purpose of our customers? This has to be ingrained into the DNA of the company, because your customers are an extension of your culture. You can't treat the same customer the exact same way, right? Because what makes me tick might tick Michael off. I developed 3 customer personality types within the call center of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. I would answer 100 calls a day. And it was pretty labor intensive, especially when you're trying to talk to a woman from Florida or a man from Texas, and you spend the first minute of the conversation convincing them that yes, a man can have a name like mine. So I had a really long average handle time, and I swear it was because of that. Like, anyways, this isn't my therapy session. So I started writing down, okay, if I'm going to be a contributor to this culture, I'm going to do more than just answer the phones. So I started writing down what are the commonalities of all these personality types, because there's somebody that would speak to me on the phone and want to be off in 3 minutes, and then there would be that man or that woman that wants to talk for 30 minutes, right? So I came up with 3 personality types. One is the socializer personality type. How does this person interact with your culture? I don't know her personally, but judging by her show, she's probably going to be really enthusiastic, engaging, want to talk about things that are completely off topic. But her purpose in building a relationship with your culture is to have those off-topic conversations. She wants to have a deep rapport with your culture and the individuals within it. My mom is this person. Like, if you've ever been at the bank and you're like, "What, dear God, woman, why are you still there talking to that person?" It's probably my mom or someone like my mom. Like, do you really have to talk about your dog for that long? Like, this is a bank, right? That's the socializer personality type. Ask yourself, do your team members know how to build rapport and represent your culture with this personality type? They're the type of personality type where you're like biting your cheek until you're like, "Oh God, please stop, please stop." Like, on with it, but you have to serve them in the way that they want to be served. As opposed to this character. This is Daniel Craig, and his personality type in the 007 movies are to the point. They're direct, he wants an efficient experience. Who aligns with this type of personality type? I'm this person. Their purpose in dealing with your company is getting to their success as quickly as possible. When I checked into the hotel, I had just gotten off a relatively longer flight, and the person that checked me in was great, absolutely great, and everybody here has been great. But he asked me like, "So where are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I just want to go to my room, like, I'm not having this, right? I'm like, you're a great guy, and I'm decent. But I just want to be on with it, right? So, I want a transactional experience. That's how I define success in doing business with your culture and the individuals within it. Right? Now, this character is a little different. I labeled them the passive. If you've ever asked somebody, "How's your day going?" If I was to ask Guy, "How's your day going?" Or if he was to ask me, "How's my day going?" and I say, "Good," and just walk away, most human beings would be like, "I'm doing well, how are you doing?" So the passive personality type might be timid and guarded. And they might be that way because they've had a negative experience with your company in the past or your industry. Think about when I worked with Alfa Romeo, Lexus, Volkswagen, Toyota, this was a key demographic of customers. Because when you go into a car lot, what do you expect? To be sold hard, right? So you go in there a bit guarded. But I caution you that this individual might be fronting. They may actually be a socializer or a passive personality type, but they're keeping their cards close. If you have an engaging culture to be able to get these individuals out of their shell, they can be some of your most loyal customers and somebody that will contribute to your culture as well too. So ask yourselves, have we set up our team within our culture up for success by helping them understand different personality types? I have something called the 10-second rule with our team. Whether it's a hostess, a bartender, a server, or anyone, the first 10 seconds after saying hello to a customer, a guest, a supplier, or anyone that interacts with our brand, try to pinpoint what their personality type is, because then that's how you have to become, and that's how you're going to represent our culture. You can even do this, I've even drilled this down into emails. If you receive an email and it's this long, where you have to scroll down to read it, you probably got a socializer personality on your hands. Don't give them a one-answer sentence. But if you're someone like myself and Cameron, because I've gotten your emails, they're like 3 words. He doesn't want 3 paragraphs. He wants 3 words back to him. Right? So how are you educating your team members and being able to identify different personality types and serve their purpose within your culture? What is your team's purpose? I want people to leave my company. If they do not aspire to be a senior leader, that's fine. I will help them get to where they want to get. Because that is our responsibility as leaders within our company. With or without the company, you're going to be successful. That is how you can build a culture that will survive any recession, last decades to come. So if somebody says the opposite, I actually want to be Laura Grant. Laura Grant is someone that we've groomed from a hostess. And she wants to one day become the director of our people department. So we've transitioned her into that department. She wants growth within the organization. Fantastic. Someone named Jordan Lopez, he was recruited very green, like 24 years old, in a marketing coordinator position. And we want to build a culture of growth. His aspirations are to start a digital marketing company of his own. So ultimately, he's telling us, I'm going to lead you. And I'm fine with that. While you're working within our culture, you must contribute and bring your best stuff. But if you choose to do something else, we're going to do that with you. Because what a great representation of our culture that we're growing that next layer of leadership with or without the company. Truth be told, Jordan's last day is at the end of the year. And he's helping me recruit his replacement. It's that mentality that allows us to separate the relationships we have in our personal life and in our professional life. When I go home to Vancouver and cook dinner for my mother, do you think I'm thinking, what's the ROI of doing this? Like, of course not. That's what like a psychopath would do. So why is it that we ask ourselves that same question in our business life? Yes, I know there's checks and balances, there's things you have to equate success to, but if something is going to serve an individual and you think it's the right thing to do it. Even if the ROI is 24 months away. That's how you build a lasting company. We've been serving Jordan since the day that he worked here, started working with us, and he's going to leave. And that's a massive, massive win for us because he's going to be an advocate of our company culture for years and years to come. This philosophy has helped us achieve this. Food and Wine magazine is the Bible for hospitality, and they wrote about us in our first year. How one Toronto restaurant is revolutionizing employee retention. At Barra, the employee retention rate is 2.5 times the industry average. And it's because of understanding our team's purpose as individuals, not as employees. So something that you can take from that conversation is go back into your workplace and how many people have from 1 to 5 direct reports? Raise your hand. 5 to 10? 10 and above. Okay. For the individuals that put their hands up for 5 to 10, this will be, you're going to have to front load the work. But your responsibility is to intimately understand the purpose of every single one of your team members. Ask them straight up and get them to be honest. What is it that you want to do? If it's with the company, great, we're going to do it together. If it's to say, you know what, I want to open a pizza shop, help them open their pizza shop. I could have somebody look me dead in the eye and say, you know what, I actually want to open a restaurant of my own and I want it to be on King Street, where our restaurants are. Ultimately saying, I want to compete with you. I'll say that, awesome, let's do it. Would you allow me to invest? Like, there's enough to go around. I'm not paralyzed by what ifs. What if somebody does this to me? What if, if that was the case, I would not cross the street every day, because what if I got hit by a car? It's a very paralyzing way to operate a business. So where are we at right now? We have that team that we want. We understand the purpose of the company, and customers, and employees as individuals, not as employees. The outcome of that is going to be sustainable engagement. Now we can start building systems and processes to enrich the lives of our employees and our customers to build this great culture. Here are the 20 company culture processes that we have operating behind the scenes that enrich the lives of our customers and employees and make us extremely competitive, profitable, hottest places in the city of Toronto, and much, much more. You don't have to write down everything here because I'll shoot me an email and I'll send you the slide decks. Let's go through the ones that are in green. I understood the audience before speaking today, and I think these 5 things are something that will really resonate with you. The Employee Advisory Board very well might be the best thing that I have created to build our company culture. Every month, I meet with a team, and that team is elected by their peers. It's one member from every department meets with me for 4 hours. So picture one dishwasher, one bartender, one hostess, and so forth. I do not allow any managers in this meeting because 1, managers have their own meetings, and 2, I'm trying to grow that next layer of leadership within our culture. We're getting ready to scale. We're going to open 2 more venues next year, and I need another layer of leadership, and this is how I'm able to groom them amongst other strategies. So we've got a table for 4 hours of people that were elected by their peers to sit down with me for 4 hours, and we have an off-the-record conversation. Everything's anonymous. These individuals who represent their departments are responsible for crowdsourcing feedback from their department peers before they come sit down with me. And I asked them for 2 questions. I asked them 2 questions. What are the good and what is the constructive on how we are developing our culture? What's the current state of our company culture? Tell me the good, tell me the bad. Next is describe the workplace of your dreams. Give me a ton of stuff to work with. Now, Sam might be like, we should do this. I'm like, it's gonna cost us like $2.7 million. We can't do everything, but you would be astonished at how proud these individuals are to sit down with an owner or senior officer of the company. They go home and tell the people that they care about, their wives, their husbands, their children, like, I got to sit down with the owner of the company or the CEO of the company. That matters, guys. Like, I know you're humble leaders, but that stuff really, really matters. They've put you on a pedestal, and that's how you can help achieve that engagement that you want. Next, who are we to be developing the processes? I speak to a handful of customers and guests a month. There are people that will be sitting at that table that speak to more customers in one day than I will in an entire quarter. So it doesn't make sense for me to be the only person developing the processes. Why not crowdsource that information from the people that actually are building relationships and living within the culture? I've kind of removed myself from the business. I'm only there 2 days a week for 4 hours a day working with our management team. So I'm still connected, but not the right person to be thinking of all the strategies. This is where we get it from. Then we'll call a meeting with our management team the very next day, and I'll say, guys, this is the feedback we got from the EAB. I can tell you right now, our management team did not like the idea of this. They didn't, because I was going to find out everything. So it's a way to keep them in check as well too. And sometimes they'll say, you know what, they're right about this. We need to fix this. Or, I didn't know that's the way they felt. And remember, it's anonymous, so I'm not going to be like, hey, Joey said this. Like, I'm not going to sandbag Joey. But from there, now you can say, okay, what processes do we need to build to serve our culture? Whether you have
5 employees, 500 or 5,000. You can do this because it's scalable. If you only have 5 employees, choose one person to meet with on a regular basis and get them to be honest. If you have 500, do the format that I have because it's one person per department. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions? I'm doing Q&A throughout the entire time, so at any point, feel free to shoot up a question. We do compensate them for their time. They're hourly employees, so we'll compensate them for that time. I'll cater it. I'll host it off-site. And for me, that means at another venue. So the Employee Advisory Board at Barrow will go and we'll host it at Petty Cash because I don't want the management team to overhear our conversations, even if we are tucked away on one of the floors that we have. So take it off-site. The interview process. I'm going to dive deep into that in a moment, but get excited for it. The $20 question. Anybody, everybody can afford this. So I want Darren, you're going to be a volunteer if you can. Not you, because you know what this is. Sophie, you're going to volunteer, please. And Angelo. So Angelo has applied to be a bartender. Sophie has applied to be a line chef. And Darren, you have applied to be a hostess. Okay? So the 3 of you have been hired. Congratulations. In the interview process, during our culture interview, I asked you a question. And it goes like this. What is an indulgence that you cannot live without that costs less than $20? Think about that for a second. And everyone think about that. What is an indulgence that I can't live without that costs less than $20? Angela, do you have something to talk about?
A ticket to the pool with my kids.
A ticket to the pool with the kids. Perfect. So,
Piece of dark chocolate.
what brand of dark chocolate? And do you do like 70%, 80%? Are you crazy and you go 90%?
Probably 7 or 8%.
Okay, so you're not crazy. I can't eat the 90% stuff. It's like tasting eating dirt. What type of brand?
Lindt.
Lindt. And Darren? Indulgence you can't live without that costs less than $20.
And beer.
Beer, what type of beer? IPA, lager?
Usually it's Labatt Blue.
Labatt Blue, okay. So I dig deep to find the particulars. Fantastic. On day 1 of your employment with our company, you're going to get a gift bag like that with a couple goodies, pens, all that, a handwritten card. But then you're also going to get tickets to the pool. You're going to get your 70% Lindt dark chocolate, and you're going to get your Labatt Blue. Did you say? We hire in groups. So on day 1, you have these individuals opening their gifts, engaging with each other. Like, what'd you get? What'd you get? And then you have people be like, that's why you asked me that question. I was trying to Google the answer, what the hell that was, and why you answered it. So that's nice, right? Hafiz heard me speak a couple years ago, and he's implemented that idea at his company. And I'll let you speak to the audience after and how that might be working for you. But yeah, the warm and fuzzy stuff, I like that. But there's always rhyme or reason with me. Part of the reason why I do that is because I know those individuals are about to be embraced in our culture. They're about to go into training. And I need your engagement to be high because I want your knowledge retention to be high. So as soon as training is done, you're selling better, you're marketing better, you're servicing better. If you want to develop a culture to have your employees give themselves to your customer, you have to set the precedent on day 1 by doing it to them first. Does that make sense? Like, shame on us for being like, go deliver better experience. Like, come on now, right? But you haven't done it for them, so why the hell should they do it for you? That's the separation between relationships in your personal life as the ones you have in your business. And let's try to bridge that gap because that is where cultures start to develop. And for someone like Brittany, who, like, should be told you could be giving this talk, how to maintain that culture because Inc. magazine, best place to work, like entrepreneur, best place to work, like, they're good, right? They're very good, but that doesn't mean that you won't be irrelevant in 12 months, right? Your culture starts to erode as soon as you take your focus off of it. And it might not happen overnight. It chips away and eventually you'll become irrelevant. One of the things that I'm fearful of is exactly that, being irrelevant. We're good today. But as soon as I accomplish something and achieve something, I enjoy its success for a bit. I have a rule of thumb, and I think my therapist would, or a therapist would say that I'm on my way to like being a psychopath, but I will do something and I'll enjoy that success for 7 minutes, and I'll literally time it. Because 7 minutes is long enough to drink a tequila or talk to my mom. And then I forget about it. And that's how I'm developing a culture too. Like, cool, let's win, let's win, let's win. On with it, let's go and continue building. It might kill me one day, but so be it. I'm having a good time while I'm doing it. Okay? The $20 question, it's something, whether it's a $20 question or some other experience that you develop for your team, do it on day one and set the precedent. Now, if you feel like, oh, our team members might not like that, or that's too fluffy for us, I would question the individuals that you have within your team. Have you built a culture to be able to have things like that resonate? Customer videos. I want to build relationships with each and every one of you. I truly, truly do. This isn't work for me. Being able to share this knowledge is something that I love doing. So let's keep the relationship going. However, Tuesdays from 10 to 11, I'm unavailable, Eastern time. And the reason why is because I'm doing customer culture videos. What that means is on Tuesday, Laura Grant, individual within our team, will hand me a piece of paper with 5 names of guests that are coming on the weekend and why they're coming. Perhaps they have a special occasion, a birthday, a going away party, whatever the case might be. And I stand in front of a camera just like that with our videographer and I say, hey Gabe, can't wait to have you on Friday. Thank you so much for choosing us. I know that you're celebrating your wife Janet's birthday. I'm not going to be in the building, but I got an amazing team ready for you. We can't wait to have you here. Can't wait for you to experience our culture, and thank you for choosing us. Then I go on to the next one, It literally takes me 10 minutes. Then we upload them to YouTube as unlisted, and then we'll email Gabe that link to that video. And that is a representation of our culture. Build a culture of experiences that your industry has never seen before. And what does that cost me, those videos? My time? 10 minutes of my time? 30 minutes? Maybe it's not you, maybe you don't feel good on camera, you're not comfortable. Find someone else who is. These are the little things that we have to do because our culture isn't just something that's internal. Our customers, our vendors, our suppliers, the media must feel our culture as well too. It's both an internal and an external emotion that people think and feel when they see your brand, when they see your team members in their uniforms or visit your website. The partner shift.
Can I know? I'm sorry.
Yeah, of
My
course,
questions
Tina.
in the middle?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how would you suggest doing that when you have, stores that are your customers and, send them videos or actually pick up the phone and talk to them, or like e-commerce customers and all that? I feel like sending a video may be less personal than, something.
Well, what's common, it's one element of something that you can do. That's not the only way we talk about our customers, but it's a unique way that we blend with the other things like the face-to-face or the conversations on the phone. Right? This is just like a value add kind of cherry on top. This isn't to replace the more intimate conversations that you're having with your customers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. I love it. I'm just trying to figure out how to.
It's just a part, like, you have a marketing mix, right? You do digital, you do print, you do radio, have a culture mix. What are some other little things that you can do to be able to deliver an experience to customers that they've never seen before? Like, the thing about this is that, like in my industry, we've set the bar so high, like they haven't even entered the venue yet.
and they're like, oh my God, like what the hell, like the owner of the company just sent me a video, like, then I have to say, hey team, get ready, because that's like the bare minimum right now. So, you know, we like to challenge ourselves. So what is your customer video equivalent? If it's that, fantastic. If it's something else, let's hear it. Okay.
We actually used to do a ton of customer videos for
Okay.
our clients, and what we found, just as that element, they really enjoyed that just because it gave them the ability to watch it on whatever device they want, when they wanted it, where they wanted it, whatever time. So that was just a massive flexibility piece for them versus getting a call and making it all that about my time versus their time. So.
Well said. I didn't actually think about that. Well said. Partnerships. Alejandra, you mentioned last night visibility for employees. Could you unpack that a little bit? What did you mean by that? So, like, you could go a little deeper on that.
So,
And I think there's one other individual that aligned with Alejandra's note about having visibility with employees. Or not? Okay.
I didn't last night, but I definitely did.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So okay, cool. So go ahead if you could.
so there are metrics that I track, that I've been tracking with little bots, like with little software.
Okay.
I have to inform my team of all of the things I find about how our clients, what they are doing, how they are going through the programs, how they are feeling, and things like that. And also how the coaches are doing. We have the facing customer people and then the back-end people.
Okay.
And the facing customer people, they are all the time talking to the clients, but they don't know how it's all fitting together. So I get these informations, and then I'm creating a dashboard, basically like an intranet, where they can see what I see.
Got it.
So then they can see their own clients. This is how the clients are behaving.
Okay.
This is what's happening with them. This is how much they are growing or they are not growing, for example. And then this is how us, like the coaches, how we are doing.
Okay.
This is how, like, marketing is doing. And it's kind of informing them instead of, for us, the meetings don't really work. Like, we have one support meetings, but nobody really, I don't know if it's not, we don't have time. Nobody really likes to have these daily things or these weekly things. Like, people are doing. And they like one support there, but they would like to see all of these pieces of information and then have visibility
Got it.
on what's happening.
From department to department across the board?
Yeah, from
Great.
department to department to understand, like, for example, oh, this is the next thing we're developing, this is the next program, or this is what we're thinking.
Okay, great. So you need to trust your team with the same information that you have, because that's how they're able to connect the dots. One of the things that allow us to have visibility as leaders within our organization is the partner shift. Once a quarter, I will work an entire shift in someone else's shoes. And it's incredible at how bad I am at every single role. Like, the dishwasher's like, what the hell? Like, I've been a hostess, I've been a dishwasher, I've been a bar back, I've been an accountant, like shadowing the accountants, and I just get in the way. But we also allow anyone from any department to be able to shadow another department as well too, and we'll pay them for that time. So once a quarter, Angelo, who's on our finance team, will go and shadow our ops team. Tom will go shadow our hostess team. And sometimes we influence it because we want our finance team or our marketing team to understand the other side of the business intimately. And as leaders of our company, like, it's not just up to us to come up with all the strategies, right? It's idea generation is developed from the front lines. I can't really remember the last strategy that I developed. It was because it was sparked by someone else's other idea and I ran with it, right? So that's a great way of, get back into the trenches. I once was, when I was advising companies, so I had worked with Alfa Romeo and all these big companies, and when I was advising leaders, to do things like this, get in the trenches, even just for an hour a week. They're like, oh, well, I don't, where am I gonna find the time? I'm like, that's 1/40th of the minimum work week, 1 hour. You are not that important. And that actually got me fired by one client. So I was fine. At the time I wasn't fine with it, but now I am. Because it's true. You're not that important, or you're not that good of a leader. Find the time. Aside from the Employee Advisory Board, this is what has helped our culture. Again, a nasty industry for turnover and all that stuff. Going into it, I knew I needed to do something about it. I needed to get ahead of it. So I developed this 6-step interview process. Now, 6 steps sounds like a long time, but I can tell you, you're spending more time having high employee turnover than this, and a lot more money, trust me on that. So let me take you through this. We get a whole bunch of resumes. We got 460 resumes for a marketing coordinator position in the last week and a half. It's a lot. But we also get a lot for hostesses and many other roles. So the first is the phone screen. The phone screen is 5 general questions that we ask. And the 2 things that we're listening for is how does this person answer their phone and what does their voicemail sound like? Because if they can't represent themselves well as individuals, what's the likelihood that they're going to represent your brand well? So I've had people like change their voicemails after I've presented this, but do I completely write them off if they have a poor sounding voicemail? No, but it's a no. However, if that person on the phone screen's like, sorry, who is this? Yeah, I applied to like 20 places. What do you do? Like save yourself the time, get them out of the process immediately. You're not trying to be efficient when you interview, you're trying to be diligent. But there's a lot of little things that you can do to save yourself some time. That's it. The next is the predictive index. That's like it's a behavioral assessment, just like the other ones. I like the predictive index, but there's tons of great ones out there. Okay, that's just to tell us how they behave in the workplace. What makes them tick, what takes them off. Then we get that information. Then we're going to invite people to the culture interview. It's a group interview, and regardless of whether it's a junior or a senior role, it's a group interview. We were hiring a director of finance about a year ago. And we had some people say no to the group interview because they, in other words, were above it. And we're like, thank you for showing me your colors because you're not going to do well in our culture. So we saved some time right there too. And this one person I remember saying, well, that's actually non-negotiable. Because I was hosting the interviews because it was such a senior role. That's non-negotiable, but thank you for applying. Like, oh, no. I'm like, no, you showed me your colors, I'm good. I'm not trying to be a dick, but sorry.
So, quick question. Would
Yes.
you do that with dishwashers too?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That's probably more important.
100%. So 4 candidates on one side of the table and my 2 people from the company on the other side of the table. Okay. The only questions that we're asking are related to culture. We have 5 values in our company. We ask 2 questions per value. We try to understand, so ownership is one of our core values. Integrity and so forth. And we'll ask 2 questions related to each value to identify if that person's going to live within that value. For example, celebration is one of our values. I would ask Jim, when's the last time you hosted an event or a party for a family member? Tell me about it, right? Because that's a celebratory time. We want to celebrate our customers and we want to celebrate each other within our culture. Okay? I do not recommend, when I went into that director of finance interview, and we just started recruiting director of marketing too, I didn't bring their resume. I just knew the 4 people's names and the questions I needed to ask. There was somebody in the room that knew the qualifications of these individuals, but I banned resumes from this interview. Why? Because I don't want you to become enamored by what you see on that paper. You're going to jade yourself. If you're like, oh, they worked at the Ritz-Carlton, and you're like, you're going to neglect that the person in front of you is not going to fit your culture and they're actually a jerk. Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, says it best. We do not tolerate brilliant jerks because the cost of teamwork is too high. So this is the crucial time for your culture. Get them out of the interview process right then and there. Do not enamor over their skill set. Only invite people back that pass the culture interview and go into skill set. Now I care if they know how to tie their shoes or write a balance sheet or things like that, okay? Skill set interview questions, go ahead with that, gauge whether they're going to be able to perform. The assignment. This can be on the spot or a take home. When we were hiring for an interview for a videographer, we had 4 people attend the assignment section. They showed up, we told them, bring your computers, and we, on the spot, we sent them like an hour of footage, and we said, turn this into a 30-second Facebook ad. You have 1 hour. And they like scurried into their own little quarters and started doing it. And it was awesome. Like, it was a representation of our culture, like people working fast and competing with each other. And the take home could be something like, you're hiring a marketer, tell them to edit 2 pages of copy for grammar and diction, create a Facebook ad for us, and write an editorial piece. Send it to them on Friday at 2 p.m. and tell them it's due on Monday at 10 a.m. The reason you have the Friday and the Monday is because you want to learn who's willing to give up their weekend to join your culture. The reason we have such high employee retention is because we're trying to squeeze people out right here at the very end. 50% of people drop off at this point. You don't hear from them. And that's a good thing. You want to squeeze people out.
I'm wondering about that. Maybe it's because you're hospitality, but like for the culture I want to create, I feel like that'd be a dick move. To be like, are you willing to sacrifice your weekend work? I try to really protect people's weekends as much as I can, but I'm like, but you are always on when you're on. Like when we're on, like you're on.
Yeah.
But then go enjoy your life.
So that makes sense for my culture. I'm not going to impose my culture on others. I'll give you an example. You have WestJet Airlines and Southwest Airlines. They're family. And they advocate that. But then you have Netflix, who says, our culture is based on competition. We are a high-performing space, not a family. There's no one-size-fits-all for culture. It's whatever makes sense to your purpose as an organization. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, and great question.
And then our purpose is to empower people to live adventurous, joyful, fulfilling lives. And a lot of that is
So maybe
do that kind of stuff at the weekend so we wouldn't.
Yeah, so maybe the assignment is something aligned with that, right? Whatever that might be. It doesn't have to be on the weekend, it could be on the spot, because I'm also testing their skill set, keep it in mind too, right? During the assignment, it's not just to be like, who's willing to give up their weekend, right? Like, it's to test their skill set as well too. Reference checks.
Sorry, can I just add a quick point though? So I agree, Angela, on the whole, like I want work-life balance and weekend cultures and stuff, but I also really do want to test whether somebody's really willing to go through brick walls for me. And I think if they would give up a weekend to try to get a job, I'll be willing to give up the fact that I don't ever need them ever working the weekend again. But it kind of shows it is a bit of like, will they go through a brick wall for me, right? Versus like right from the get-go, they're all just concerned about their balance and their vacation time. It's like, fuck, I'll give you more vacation than you could ever need. But you gotta at least show me that once in a while, if I say we need you to be here, you're gonna be here.
I guess just for me, it just seems like it just communicates.
Yeah, I got it.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
If I was doing it.
I would say you could do it like, hey, do this assignment on the weekend. The assignment is do something fun with your family. Tell me how, and then write a paper on how it influenced you over the weekend and bring that in, right?
Like I feel that'd be a good culture when it's like, oh, I guess I'd say, because we do assignment day too, we typically do it like, it's like 2 days and it's during the week. Like do that, and if they get to that, maybe it's like, and do a video of something fun you did this weekend and show us how much fun you had. And it's like, if you're not into having fun and.
Yeah.
Both sides, guys.
If they're employed though, you want them to give you the best work, and I think over the weekend is probably the best work than coming home after work and actually giving you your assignment. Like I think there's that piece of it too. Like that's when they actually have time to show you the best stuff.
Reference checks. I used to not believe in reference checks because who puts forth a bad reference? Cameron taught me this. You have to know what question to ask. Decision, 2 people sign off on every single hire. And then make the offer. The offer has to be a celebratory moment. Let's stop sending emails being like, click this link and sign this document. Like, welcome to this company. Like, it's celebratory. People might be relocating. They might be leaving a company that they've been with for 20 years, they might have some anxiety, like make it celebratory. One thing that we do is, let's say Mimi was hired, our people leader would put Mimi on speakerphone and be like, hey Mimi, my name is Michel, congratulations, we want to make you the offer, check your inbox shortly, we're going to have that offer there for you. And then Hafiz and Sophie, let's pretend you're team members of ours, I'll grab 2 people for that call, and then Hafiz will be like, hey Mimi, we haven't met yet, but we're going to be working together because I'm in such and such department, congratulations, can't wait to have you. And then Sophie flies in there as well too and says, hey, can't wait to work. Right, it has to be celebratory. Like, this isn't a transactional experience, right? Like, put some meaning into it, represent your culture. Once we've done this, now we can enjoy profit. I am a very profit-driven entrepreneur. I expect to see a nice number at the bottom. It's just my way of going about earning that profit might be a little different than others. You can equate profit through finance, brand admiration, and high employee engagement. But whichever way you define it, it has to be a mutually beneficial gain. Like, we're not Scrooge McDuck, right? Like, yes, we want to earn a profit within our organizations, but how do we reinvest those profits? What do we do to those profits? How are we earning them? And that's one thing that I want you to take back with your leadership team as well too, is that profit isn't just dollars and cents. Once you're able to build a culture like this, things like this happen. And our micro customer experience program is something that helps us display our culture to everyone that interacts with our brand. And this is a natural and organic outcome. It's a small, memorable, and affordable gesture you do for your customers that resonates with them for years. Members, customers, guests, clients, whatever you call them. This is Alyssa on the left. She's a server and she was serving brunch one day. Telling your employees to listen to customers is an awful thing, and it's doing them a disservice. You have to tell them to listen and take action on what you have heard. These ladies here came to celebrate an upcoming pregnancy. The woman that's being given that gift was due in about a month or 2. This is the last time that her and her friends were going to get together before she has her child. Alyssa learned that that's the reason that they came. That was their purpose of joining us that day. Alyssa took that information because she listened and started to take action. She went to our hostess stand and they put the micro customer experience program into action. Our hostess ran across the street to Shoppers Drug Mart, which is like CVS or Walgreens. Went across the street, bought wrapping paper, Scotch tape, a rattle, a box of diapers, and that handwritten card. Came back in time, wrapped the gift, gave it to Alyssa. Alyssa gave it to our guest at time of billing. That's an experience that she's never seen before because of our company culture. That was achieved because we give Alyssa the autonomy to live within our culture to do these things. We also give our management team a budget to do this. This venue in particular will do $11 million per year in sales. It's a lot for the hospitality industry for one venue. What do you think our monthly budget is to be able to do this micro customer experience? So nearly $1 million a month in sales. What do you think our monthly budget is? Somebody guess.
10,000.
10,000. How much?
200.
200? 1,000. It's only $250. Why do I only want it to be that small? Because when you have a small budget, you have to get creative to be able to deliver these experiences. Could I make it 10,000? Absolutely, I could. But then we would just be handing out bottles of Dom Perignon and flowers to every customer. And that's not memorable. That's not a great representation of our culture. It's nice, I like flowers and I like champagne. But this is where we have to get very specific. What's the ROI of doing this? Where do I start and where do I end? Like these customers, customer loyalty, they will be back. Google reviews, Facebook reviews, we got them from these ladies. Word of mouth, organic growth. A local newspaper wrote about this gesture. Free PR, like it's just endless. Because we have this culture to make this happen. A couple who was traveling from Europe comes to one of our restaurants. Our server asks, "How was your stay?" She said, "Oh, it was awesome, but we didn't get to try Timbits from Tim Hortons." It's like those circular little donut balls. Server puts the micro customer experience to action. Hostess runs to Tim Hortons, comes back in time, a 20 pack, put up plated for them. Here you go, off to the airport. That's a micro customer experience powered by our company culture. Who has Warby Parker's glasses? Great. A customer in Atlanta, Georgia walks into their store after ordering online. The employee asks, "How's your day going?" The customer says, "Not good." "Why?" "I had my car stolen last night. I could really use a beer, but I'm excited to get my glasses." The employee does what we teach everyone to do, shows empathy, but then puts a similar program into action. Two days later, the customer gets this note in the mail. "Hey Tess, we are so sorry to hear about your car since you probably won't be the designated driver anytime soon. Here's a round on us. Love your friends at Warby Parker. P.S. Your grand frames look amazing." In that envelope is a $25 gift certificate to a local microbrewery so that customer can get that beer that she said she needed in passing. It's your responsibility as leaders to help your employees listen and take action on what they've heard. Give them a budget, give them the autonomy, and don't be like, "Oh, well, what if they do?" Like, who cares? Like, you should have hired culture fits in the interview process and then just let them run free. Now, with that being said, the only rule I have is no bad experiences. Our management team will say no. So if an employee goes to our management team and says, "Hey, can I do this micro customer experience?" And if it's lame, we'll say no. Back to the drawing board. For example, if Guy was with a friend and they were about to go to a concert and an employee was like, "Oh, could we send him in an Uber?" It's not good enough. Right? He's been in an Uber before, right? I'm assuming. So say no. The only rule you should have is no to any average experiences. Warby Parker had this story told in Business Insider, Washington, or Mashable, and Huffington Post. Tens of thousands, tens of millions of readers a month. They would have had to pay a PR firm tens of thousands to get into those online publications, but they did that through something that is embedded within the culture of their company. This is how I've learned to build cultures, regardless of the industry. You recruit and interview a high-performing team that aligns with your culture. You understand the purpose of the company, customers, and individuals. Because of that, you have high, sustainable employee engagement. People are selling better. They're more productive. They don't call in sick to work. They market better, and much, much more. Our responsibility as leaders is to build systems and processes to have these engaged team members live within. I have a rule of thumb. 3 strategic initiatives are deployed within my company every quarter. Now I have a full-fledged management team to do that. So if you don't, maybe just start with 1 initiative per quarter, gain some momentum, have some wins, and then scale up. Because of these processes, our customers are being treated in a world-class fashion through micro customer experiences. Their complaints are resolved within hours of them filing it. And much, much more. Because of that, we profit through finances, we profit by having an admired brand, and we profit by having high employee retention and much, much more. Raise your hand if you feel like you have a thriving culture. Hi, come on guys. We're only an hour in, you going like this? Okay, raise your hand if you feel like, you know what, 2019 is going to be the year that we take it to the next level. Regardless of the position that you are in, whether it's in your infancy or if you're in your maturity phase, your company culture has to be something that you adhere to every single quarter. It is your responsibility as leaders of your company to be the flag bearer of your company culture. Thank you so much for your time, guys. I appreciate it. So I can do some formal Q&A. if you guys have any questions about any part of that talk. But I'm also staying for the day as well too. So if there's something that you think of during the day, by all means, I'm here. Angela.
I have an implementation question. So
Yes.
I think like most people, I'm just excited about all these ideas
Yeah.
and want to employ them. And I have a specific person on the team that's like, her title is office manager, but she's basically moving into the HR manager. She's about to get promoted in that.
Very similar transition to with Laura Grant.
Okay. Yeah, and so I really want to empower her with more, like I want her to know that like this is what she's supposed to be working on, and to empower her with like training and education and support around it. So what does that look like? Well, beyond like I can provide the direct day, I can provide the higher level vision and support and like be a person who's talking about it with her, but I need her to actually like execute it.
So you need to help her understand what that vision is and the mechanics behind it. So for example, when I was, and this is perfect because we have already transitioned someone in that role in a very lateral fashion. With Laura, I sat down with her and said, look, this is my vision, and I allowed her to hear me say it. I gave her a document very similar to the vision as well, to do something tangible for her to reference back. And then I said, at the time, these are the 3 operational initiatives that you are going to own. And this is how I'm going to measure success. You have to be very black and white. Meet with them on a weekly basis for an hour, and always keep tabs on her as well too, and her progress for him. So it's not, often we have this vision and we expect people to align behind it, but sometimes it gets lost because there's a lack of communication. What happens is that people draw their own conclusions and their own definitions of success. You have to be extremely intimate and clear on what your expectations are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So in terms of like a roadmap, for example, does your book offer a roadmap, or is it more like an inspirational?
No. There's mechanic stuff. I need to be inspired to get out of bed in the morning. I'm not the right person to write an inspirational book. Trust me. You don't know me well enough, but hopefully you will. It's very. That's funny. Yeah, it's really weird when people are like, oh, he's a motivational speaker. I was like, don't call me that. Like that's not the mechanic, tactical stuff. Tactical, super tactical. Teresa.
I have a question regarding when you have one person from each team.
The employee advisory board?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big meeting. How do you keep that anonymous so that the whole team doesn't know who's Brad and who's?
Yeah, it's really honor code. I send them a document called the Rules of the Road before they attend the meetings. And they hold 6-month terms, by the way. And then the group flips. And then that person has to elect another person to sit in their seats. Very political. But it's the honor system. I feel like I've recruited the right individuals that I can trust. I'm not paralyzed by what ifs, like I mentioned. What if somebody leaks something? Well, I'm very stern with them at the beginning and saying, look, if I catch wind of anybody not adhering to these rules of the road, and there's 5 of them, one of which is confidentiality, you're not just out of this employee advisory group, you're out of the company. And like, that don't take kindness for weakness. Like I'm like that with my team, but like when I lower my voice and look you dead in the eye, I'm dead ass serious. And that is when I become that guy. But it's just kind of awkward. It's like we don't talk about it. And like sometimes our management team's like, oh, was it Kim that said that? I'm like, I'll fire you too. Like, don't even try to equate. Like, you're in the wrong mind space if you're trying to figure out who said that. You're defeating the purpose of this whole initiative. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Set the precedent.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned at one point about getting your employees to essentially helping them get to be wherever they want to be.
Yeah.
In or out of your business.
Mm-hmm.
How do you sell that to your partners, your upper management team? I love the idea. For me, I can just.
It's a humanity thing, man. I can't, like, I told you last night about our director of operations that I had to rip out of the company quickly, or else she was going to ruin it from the inside out. I couldn't rewire her. and I'm not in the business of doing that. If you have to sell somebody on helping someone, there's 3 key reasons why leaders won't lead this way. One of which is DNA. Do they have the DNA to care about a stranger? Because your employees and your customers are strangers. Hopefully, they turn to be much more than strangers, but you know that you have that person in your life and hopefully you've removed them, or like just a dick, just like an ass, right? Like, I'm not looking to be, I would never hire Gordon Ramsay. If Gordon Ramsay came to me, assuming he's the person he is on TV, okay? I would be like, sorry bro, like you're gonna ruin this shit. I can't rewire somebody like that, and I haven't signed up for that in my career. I want to surround myself with people that just can. And I think my greatest skill set is removing that barrier between personal and business relationships. So I'm sorry if I don't have any advice for you, man, other than present it and see where you end up.
Michelle, how did that person get through, and what did you update in your system to make sure it didn't happen?
Yeah, it was in our infancy, and what happened was I led the interview process. I don't know if I told you this earlier. Of the nearly 200 employees that we have, 110 of them were hired in 30 days going through that interview. I lost 7 years off my professional life because of that quarter. Like, I was old as shit. Like, didn't sleep a lot. Like, anyways. My mistake was this. I didn't stay in the trenches long enough. I showed people and I passed the reins off to individuals too quickly. And that's where she got there. She would have never got by.
Did you try to rewire?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You don't
You
think
should wait, you know.
yes. If you hire them, it's your responsibility to bring them up. But eventually you have to exit them. It's your responsibility to coach them. Or you made the hire, that's on you. So it's your responsibility to coach them. And coach them and coach them and coach them. One last question.
So we do a lot of attempt to hires, and I heard attempt to hire. So
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And I heard you say we hired 110 people in 1 month, and it's interesting because last about 2 months, 2.5 months, as we opened the second facility, really ramped up the fourth quarter of 2019. We started bringing in larger groups because one of the challenges we have with culture was getting temps on board with our company's philosophy, right? So we onboard them without muddying the waters that you are a temp. We really treat them as a adopting employee. Like, we bring you on, you have an onboarding document.
Do you want to talk?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, but one of the challenges we've had is really getting the temps on board with the culture, which has made it hard to really just get that culture of solid foundation. But we found as we were bringing in larger groups, we were able to onboard them as groups and get them more on board with the culture. And we were like, that's kind of interesting to bring them on one by one. It's been so challenging. But so when you brought out 110, I guess my question is, was that super painful, or was that?
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't do that again. But we followed the framework, and we probably interviewed 1,100 people. It was exhausting. Could I have been like, hey kid, do you like sports? Yeah, you're hired, right? Like, that's how some companies hire. Like, you have a pulse, you're hired, right? My recommendation, and I have a really similar challenge. We hire security at our venues because we do have some nightclubs in the portfolio. So we need a third-party security company to staff that role. And what we did is we made the security company go through our training and onboarding. And the owner of the company. So we're like, you intimately understand what we're trying to build, and don't send us any person on our property that wouldn't fit this culture. And that was the aha. Cameron's gonna kick